So I was asked a question, an interesting question on Twitter. The guy said, "Hey, about the middle of the season, you were saying, hey, this window is closing. We got to hurry. We got to win this year. Now all of a sudden you're saying, hey, this window is wide open, and there's more championships to be had for your Houston Astros.
Oh, it's wide open.
And I don't know about you, but I said, well, it really has changed for me.
No, at the time, my argument was it wasn't closing. I didn't feel like to me, young pitching and a multitude of players. And I consider Jeremy Pena part of. I know he didn't play the same way.
Well, at that time, no, wait a minute. Let's not rewrite history. About June, Jeremy Pena was not very good.
He was a rookie.
He was a rookie. He showed some flashes, but you didn't know Jeremy Pena was going to be World Series MVP.
No, but I thought Jeremy Pena would be a good player. I mean, he's a. I don't consider. For me, I don't consider your rookie season to be this is what you are. I don't consider a week to be, or even a month.
I don't either. But Fromber wasn't. About June or so, Fromber wasn't this Fromber. He was having a good season. Little did we know he'd set the record for quality starts. Urquidy actually had a little bit of a struggle. Garcia, they're young pitchers. They're good, really good pitchers. But really, young, good pitchers don't mean championships. You got to have the hosses at the top of the rotation.
No, but they were World Series pitchers, though.
Yeah,
Garcia. They didn't
even get in the World Series. So
no, they had a history. You've seen them in the World Series. You knew what they were. To me, it was not. To me, this is never. But the conversation I think was about trade deadline is why it came up. Why you had to make a move because the window was closing, but. To me, the window wasn't closing. I don't think. Now, you do recognize there are some pressure points with Yuli at that time, and still. But I mean, Yuli also played way better than anticipated. But with Yuli, with Uncle Mike being hurt, at that time hurt, and we didn't know if he was coming back.
Absolutely.
At that time. There were some pressure points where you do have to make some
center field wasn't decided, and we're going between Jake and Chaz.
Right.
Michael Brantley wasn't great, and then he got hurt. Yuli is older, not going to be back. Maldonado couldn't hit worth a darn. He was the worst hitting position player in Major League history. So, no, the window, absolutely, to me, you got to do it now. You got to have urgency. I did not like that, we're talking about, well, it's okay, not getting, no, you got to win. You got to go at
John, here's why the cliche matters. It's a cliche, but it's a long season.
Well, no.
And that's why by the end of the season, your perspective is different. And it's not just because, well, this guy did this and this guy. Yeah, but they were capable of doing all this.
Well, they absolutely were. But now, to me, even though that it happened, and all those things are still true. Is Yuli going to be Yuli like this year, or is Yuli even coming back? Is Uncle Mike coming back? Is Maldonado going to hit ever? Is Chas McCormick really the answer in center field? But the difference is, look at how Abreu came on. Look at now your rotation. Look at how Javier came on. Mm-hmm. I mean, Javier was good. Javier I think is one of the Cy Young favorites next year. Look at how now even without, look at Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown, little did we know Hunter Brown was going to be Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown could be your next JV. So a lot has changed since June here, and to me, this is I've loved. I think this window is wide open now for years to come.
Yeah,
but at that time,
well, it can be. It's not closing on you, but,
even without JV.
But you have to keep it open. Also, here's the thing: with the pitching the way it is, pitching can keep you pitching. Pitching won an Arizona team that had very little hitting. They had two really good pitchers in Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling. They won a World Series off of that.
That's what I'm saying.
Kurt, we've seen pitching. It doesn't take a lot of pitching. We have a lot of pitching.
Well, yeah, no. And not only do we have a lot of pitching, even without JV, you've got two or maybe three hosses at the top of it. We'll see what Hunter Brown delivers. But Fromber and Javier at the top of this rotation are still good enough to carry you to a World Series.
So I was having this conversation with my son Mason yesterday. We were talking about, and it's a hard conversation to have with kids, and even my wife, getting them to understand, like, you don't pay, like the Astros would never bring an Aaron Judge in because they're not going to pay another team's player top dollar while letting George Springer and Correa and all these guys walk. It sends a horrible message in the locker room. Like, we'll pay for somebody else, but not you guys. So you have to, what the Astros have done and what they figured out is this is a model that is, for them, it has been a sustainable model where they say, look, we're going to offer good players money early, But they are not going to be making market value at the end of their contracts, but they're going to be making more than they can possibly make in the earlier years. So it's going to even out. Like Alex Bregman, but
But that's not true, actually. What they did was, while it's an average of $20 million a year over 5 years, $100 million, they paid Alex Bregman $35 this year.
Well, no, it's the AP. Yeah, the average per year is
right,
that. But
right.
but they do pay higher numbers. This is what I think the Astros are going to have to start, because what happens is when Alex Bregman's. So I told Mason, look, this is why the Astros got Jordan to do a deal early. They got Jose Altuve. They got Alex Bregman. What they do, though, it's not a long-term deal. They're just adding a few years on to how long they have club control. And I was explaining it to him, and you've got to, but they're not even making how much they should be making. I said, but they're going to make a substantial amount, and the Astros pay them early is what the Astros model for the really good players.
Which is, other than Kyle Tucker, yeah.
Yeah, well, they're trying to.
Right.
It takes two to tango. It's not that the Astros aren't offering him. You don't think the Astros
they
sign
did
him
offer
now?
him. They were trying to get a deal done, and he would.
Yeah, that's a Kyle Tucker move. That's not an Astros move. So if you look at it, I think the next move the Astros need to start considering is tacking a year on. Like, hey, Bregman, can we give you $35 million to add 1 year? Because that's the way you can continue to keep things open without overreaching and overspending. Will Alex Bregman 3 years in advance take one more year at $35 million? You don't think so?
No, absolutely not. Because you go to a free agency later. The later you go to free agency, the less money you're going to get.
It depends on who the player is and what their thoughts are. Something that's really interesting, because this was brought up about Jeremy Pena, is Pena and Javier are coming in, and even Fromber are older than you think. Like, they're older than this is Christian Javier's. He's pitched 3 years with the Astros. He's 25 now. Yeah, going to be 26 next year. So he's not even going to get to true free agency until he is 28, 29.
That's still young enough.
So it's still relatively young, but it's not.
Well, they signed Fromber. Remember, Fromber signed later. He was a late bloomer.
Yeah, and so that's why if you do deals with them, like right now, my number one priority would get a deal done with Fromber, a long-term deal right now.
Mine would be
Tucker. The Jordan deal right now, Fromber, because you can do Tucker. I'm not saying you don't, but who do you have on your?
No, my number one would be Tucker.
But who do you have on your pitching staff that's tied up long term?
Well, no,
you have young pitchers.
You got those three and Abreu for 3 years guaranteed, and Garcia 4 years.
But don't you want one of your aces locked up?
Absolutely, but I think you can work out a deal during one of these years. I don't think he's nearly as urgent as Tucker is. I don't want Tucker to get to arbitration, which he's at. He's at arbitration.
But I don't think you're going to be able – you can want all you want. I don't think Kyle Tucker's doing any early deals for you.
I don't either.
The money – that's why I think Fromber's realistic. I don't think Tucker's realistic.
I don't think he is either.
Tucker knows his value on the market.
But listen, it's the Latin players are a little bit easier because where they've come from – and they see that guaranteed money that are going to set them up for life. It is easy. I mean, it was again. Jordan's going to regret his deal, but he's got guaranteed money that coming from Cuba. He's like, holy cow, this is a place. Altuve was the same way.
But you take care of your family right away.
Right away.
And what about Fromber is, Fromber had a 2018 that was just horrific. No, a 19 that was just horrific. 5, 6, 7. He was awful. I hated seeing Fromber when he would come up and throw. And then 20 was different, 21 was different, 22. You can't strike with the irons any hotter than right now. So he would have max leverage to get the most he could possibly get right now because of how he's pitching. But if he waits, we know if he hits the market, he's going to be paid an unbelievable number. But the Astros have come up with they've been able to get guys like Bregman to bite early. And here's hoping that they can get Fromber and get Kyle Tucker to bite early as well.